In a beautiful city called Nnewi, there lived a young girl named Ijeoma. Ijeoma was very beautiful and was the only child of her parents, Mr. Ebere and Mrs. Oluchi, who were into the business of importation of leathers and were very wealthy too. Ijeoma had a best friend whose name was Adora. Adora was also an only child. She was the only child of Mr. Ogbonna and Mrs. Chinyere, who were also into the business of importation, and they were also extremely wealthy as well. Ijeoma and Adora's friendship was born out of their parents' friendship. Their parents had been very good friends for more than 25 years. Their fathers had learned the business of importing leathers under the same master, and ever since then, a bond had developed between them, and that had also cut across their wives and now their daughters. So it was no surprise that Ijeoma and Adora were best friends. Ijeoma spent a lot of time at Adora's house, and Adora did the same too. They both saw each other's fathers as their second daddy. Their love for one another was very great and beautiful to watch. However, tragedy struck one day in Ijeoma's home. Ijeoma's parents, Ebere and Oluchi, had attended a wedding ceremony, and on their way back, they both had an accident and died on the spot. Ijeoma was only 12 years old when this happened, and her world came crashing down. Ijeoma was also supposed to have attended that same wedding, but did not go because she was feeling a little bit sick. So when her father's friend, who she fondly called her second daddy, came to her house and broke the news of her parents' demise, Ijeoma wept profusely. Everyone, even her best friend Adora, tried to console her, but she could not be consoled. A few days later, all her father's relatives, who he never liked, had come from the village just to see what they could lay their hands on and get since her father was now dead. But they all got the shock of their lives because her father Ebere never trusted his brothers and never liked any of them. The only person that her father trusted was his best friend Ogbonna. So her father had given his best friend Ogbonna all the documents to all his properties and had also told him where to find important documents and where he had money. He had also made him promise and swear to him that if anything ever happened to him, that he was to make sure that his brothers do not come and take over everything and leave his wife and child with nothing. Ebere had done this years back without knowing that he was going to die so soon. So Ogbonna was ready to honor his promise to his best friend and to make sure that Ebere's relatives do not get anything from his properties. So they all got the shock of their lives when they realized that there was nothing to steal or to share. Ijeoma was very grateful to her second daddy, Ogbonna. Ogbonna ensured that the whole burial was a success and had even taken Ijeoma to live with his family for the time being. So at the end of all the burial rites, Ijeoma officially moved in to live with her best friend Adora and her family. They had become her new family. Although Ijeoma missed her parents terribly, she found comfort in her new home. Her new parents were very nice to her and treated her as good as they treated their daughter. Ijeoma and Adora continued to attend the same school and they excelled at school. However, as time passed, Ijeoma began to notice strange things in her friend's home, which had become her new home. She slept in the same room with Adora, and she noticed that every night, Adora would wake up, leave the room, and after about 10-15 minutes, she would come back to the room crying, and then would rush to the bedroom to bathe before coming to join her to sleep. Ijeoma was very worried. She did not understand where Adora went every night. So one day, she spoke to Adora and said, "Adora, where do you go every night and why do you always come back crying?" Ijeoma asked, looking very worried. "Were you spying on me? Please mind your business, oh. Trust me, you do not want to know." Adora replied angrily and stood up and left. Ijeoma was shocked. She wondered what she had said that was so wrong that made Adora very upset. She began to notice that after that conversation, Adora withdrew from her, and Adora's mother, Chinyere, began to treat her very harshly. Chinyere began to shout at her at the slightest provocation. Ijeoma was confused and did not know what she had done to warrant the sudden change of attitude. So one day, Ijeoma heard Chinyere and Ogbonna discussing. She heard Chinyere say, "My husband, is it not high time you stop doing this to your own daughter? After all, we now have a replacement, Ijeoma. Ijeoma can take the place of Adora instead now." Chinyere said, looking very worried. "Ha! But the Baba said that," Ogbonna said, looking worried. "The Baba said what? What did the Baba say?" "I can remember exactly what the Baba said. The Baba said you need to sleep with a child who is a virgin under your roof. The Baba did not say that you need to sleep with your own child. He said a child. Besides, you have been sleeping with Adora since she was 6 years old. Don't you think that she deserves a break? Now that there's someone else, and I'm 100% sure that Ijeoma has never been with a man. Besides, she's not even a child. She's about 13. Please do as you will with her instead and let our daughter rest. She has endured it for almost 8 years. Please think about it," Chinyere said, looking very worried. "Ha, Chinyere, do you know what you're asking of me? My friend Ebere trusted me with his life, and with the upkeep of his only daughter, it would be very unfair of me to do this to his only child," Ogbonna said, looking worried. "Oh, so now you have a conscience, Abi? So it is okay doing that to your own child, but it is grave injustice to do it to your friend's child, Abi? This is an opportunity to give our daughter a break. Please," Chinyere replied angrily. "Oh, stop it. I never wanted any of this in the first place. Was it not you that pushed me into this rubbish? I was doing just okay until I married you. My friend Ebere was way more wealthier than me, even though our boss settled us the same time. And I did not have any issue with it, because at least I had enough money to feed myself and to feed you. But no, it was never enough for you. You always competed with Oluchi even when Oluchi was not competing with you. You pushed me into doing money rituals so that you can live a flamboyant lifestyle at the cost of our only daughter. And now you sit here accusing me when you are the mastermind of all this rubbish. I regret marrying you. I regret the day I set my eyes on you. And no, I will not do that to Ebere's daughter. A daughter he entrusted in my care. I will not do that." Ogbonna replied angrily and walked away. Then be ready for war in this house. I don't know how you would choose the daughter of a stranger to your own. Useless man. You're a weak man. If not for me, you would have still been a very poor man. And you are here talking nya 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 nya. I came and helped your life, and you're spitting nonsense," Chinyere called out angrily after her husband. For a minute, Ijeoma was dumbfounded. She did not know what to think. So her uncle had been sleeping with his own daughter, Adora. No wonder. Everything now made sense to her. It dawned on her that all the while that her best friend Adora had been leaving the room at night, she was going to sleep with her father. Ijeoma was very afraid and ran into the room and locked the door. She wept and wept profusely. She did not know what to do or where to run to. She knew that she had to leave that house as soon as possible. So later that night, when everyone was asleep, and before the usual time that Adora would usually go to lie with her father, Ijeoma picked up her bag where she had already packed a few clothes to flee the house, but was surprised to see her auntie and uncle seated in the parlor as though they were waiting for her. Ijeoma immediately froze, and then Chinyere spoke up and said, "Did I not tell you that she heard us? Now it is too late though. Whether you like it or not, you have to sleep with her. Because if this girl leaves this house, she would go and tell everyone, oh, and this would become a very big problem on our hands. Our reputation will be destroyed forever," Chinyere said angrily. Ogbonna felt very frustrated. He did not know what to do. On one side was his wife nagging at him. On the other side was the only child of his best friend. crying and pleading with him, saying, "Uncle, please, let me go. I will not tell anybody, I promise." Ijeoma said, weeping profusely. After a few minutes, Ogbonna had made a decision. He could not let his reputation that he had built for years get destroyed. He knew that the moment Ijeoma left that door, all his secrets would be out in the open public. He also was worried for his daughter. The type of money ritual that he had done entails that his daughter would always have to remain under the same roof with him, so he could keep on lying with her every night, which meant that his daughter was never going to be able to go to the university or one day get married and have a family of her own, since she always had to remain under his roof. But if he moved over to sleeping with Ijeoma, then his daughter could be free and go ahead to live a normal life. So Ogbonna chose his daughter over the daughter of his late friend, and Ogbonna took Ijeoma by the hand and forcefully dragged her to the room and had his way with her, while Chinyere stayed back in the parlor excited that now her daughter was free at last. They had found someone in place of her daughter. Now they could eat their cake and have it. They could have their wealth and still have a future for their daughter. Ijeoma, on the other hand, locked herself in the bathroom, weeping profusely. Over the next few months, Ogbonna had his way with Ijeoma every single night. Ijeoma was very heartbroken. They stopped Ijeoma from going to school for fear that she was going to talk to someone about it. So they loaded Ijeoma with several house chores. Ijeoma became a maid. She cooked, she cleaned, and kept the house clean at all times, while Adora went to school. Adora and Ijeoma no longer slept in the same room. Adora also no longer spoke to Ijeoma. She treated her like a leper and no longer spoke to her at all. Adora knew that her father was now sleeping with Ijeoma, and although she knew that this was not right, she was just glad that she was free, that it was no longer her that had to sleep with her father. She felt guilty and yet happy at the same time. Years had passed and Ijeoma had grown into a beautiful young woman and was still living like a prisoner. She stayed home all day, cleaning and doing house chores and sleeping with her father's best friend, Ogbonna. Adora, on the other hand, was already in her third year in a university in the UK and was living her best life. She was already dating a handsome young Nigerian man who she had met in the UK, and they were planning to come back home to get married. One day, Ijeoma was lost in thought. She was tired of her life and knew that she could not continue living the way she was currently living. So she decided to come up with a plan. She was going to make all of them pay, but she knew that she had to be very smart about it. So each time her uncle, Ogbonna, came to have his way with her, she no longer struggled. Instead, she cooperated and began to even tell him that she loved him. Ogbonna was very shocked, but Ijeoma was no longer a child and had grown into a beautiful woman and was very attractive. So before he knew what was happening, Ogbonna had fallen head over heels in love with the sacrifice he was supposed to use for money rituals. So each time he went in to sleep with Ijeoma, he would spend hours discussing and gisting with Ijeoma and even laughing loudly. Chinyere had started noticing the difference in her husband's behavior, how he spent hours with Ijeoma rather than just a few minutes, how he now came back home with gifts specially for Ijeoma. So she could no longer take it. So one day, she confronted her husband saying, "What in God's name is wrong with you? Ogbonna? What do you think you are doing with that girl? Have all the girls outside finished? Why is it the one that is meant for the money ritual that you are falling in love with? Ogbonna, Igbolamo, you have killed me, oh." Chinyere screamed angrily. "You, this woman, please let me be now. You were the one that told me to leave our daughter and focus on Ijeoma. Now you are complaining. What exactly is it that you want from me? You had better let me be. Let me have peace in my house." Ogbonna replied angrily as he walked away. "I am finished. This girl has ruined me, oh. So this rat, this little girl wants to destroy my home. So she wants to cause a divide between me and my husband. Ah, Chinyere, you must do something. You must act fast before it's too late. Chinyere said, panting and crying. Ijeoma, on the other hand, was very happy. Her plans were beginning to materialize and take shape. Now she had won Ogbona's heart, and it came with a lot of perks. She was now in full control. She was now allowed to go out and was even going for shopping, pedicure and manicure, and was living her very best life. Ijeoma no longer did any house chores. Rather, it was now her auntie Chinyere that was doing all the house chores in the house. She had even successfully pursued her auntie out of her matrimonial room. She now had her uncle wrapped around her arms. Now it was time to enter stage 2 of her plan. So one day, she spoke to Ogbonna and said, "Babe, how about my father's properties? What happened to them?" Ijeoma asked softly. "Why are you asking me these questions now?" Ogbonna replied, now, I just want to know what is so difficult in telling me. Abi, don't you love me again?" Ijeoma replied, sulking. And then Ogbonna brought out all her father's landed documents and handed it over to her and said, "Oh yeah, see it, it's all yours. At least now you know that I love you." Ogbonna replied, smiling sheepishly. "Oh, thank you, baby." Ijeoma screamed in excitement, and over the next week, Ogbonna went ahead and introduced her to the people that worked at her father's business and gave her full control to all her father's properties. Ijeoma was very happy. When Chinyere found out what her husband had done, how he had relinquished control of Ijeoma's father's properties to her, she was very worried. She was surprised as to how her husband had changed overnight. So she confronted him and screamed at him saying, "Have you lost your mind? Why are you allowing yourself to be controlled by that little girl who is your daughter's age mate? What is wrong with you?" Chinyere screamed angrily, but Ogbonna simply ignored her. He was tired of exchanging words with her, so he just simply left her presence. Ijeoma, on the other hand, was super glad with the progress that she was making. Now she had secured all her father's properties. Now it was time to take his own property, her uncle's properties. After all, he used her to become rich. So over the next few weeks, Ijeoma worked her magic on Ogbonna yet again and made him transfer ownership of his company and all his properties to her with the requisite documents. Ijeoma was so happy. Now she moved to the next stage of her plan yet again. She began to poison Ogbonna's mind against his daughter Adora, saying, babe, why is Adora even studying in a university abroad? I heard that most of those people that study abroad either end up as gay or lesbians or end up as drug addicts or something. I think you should bring Adora back to the country so that she doesn't end up as a drug addict. At least you can watch over her from here." Ijeoma said mischievously, "It is true, but then she's already in her final year, and I don't think it is wise bringing her back at a time like this, when she already has less than 1 year left." Ogbonna replied, looking worried. "It does not matter. My dear, it does not matter. Let her come back home now. She can always continue in Unilag. 1 year is enough to do a lot of damage to your daughter. By the end of that 1 year, you may not recognize your daughter. I'm just saying my own, no," Ijeoma said convincingly, and Ogbonna bought it. And so, in a few weeks, Adora was wheeled back home. She was very sad, and Ijeoma mocked her and laughed at her. Meanwhile, Ijeoma had been putting a sprinkle of poison in Ogbonna's tea, which she gave him every morning. She wanted him dead for forcing himself on her consistently for over 6 years. Adora and her mother were very mad at Ijeoma for how she had succeeded in convincing Ogbonna to bring her back to Nigeria without finishing her education. But Ijeoma did not care. She was now in control. Meanwhile, Ijeoma had liquidated all her father's properties and businesses as she no longer wanted to remain in Nigeria. She wanted to move abroad and start her life afresh. She had also even started secretly selling Ogbona's properties and was waiting for the right time to sell off everything. A few weeks later, Ogbonna had fallen sick from the consistent poison that he has been taking for months and was admitted in the hospital. And Chinyere was always constantly by his bedside, tending to him. And this gave Ijeoma the opportunity to sell off the house that they all lived in, as well as sell off the company and flee the country. So Ijeoma relocated out of Nigeria to the 37th state of Nigeria, which is the United Kingdom. And a few weeks later, she learned that Ogbonna had died. The poison that she had been giving him little by little every day had done so much damage, and there was nothing the doctors could do about it. She also heard that his wife and child, Adora, were both stranded and had nowhere to go, and that they now lived under a bridge and begged for food because Ijeoma had sold everything that they owned right under their nose. Ijeoma, on the other hand, was able to start her life afresh. And with the money that she had realized from the sale of her father's properties and Mr. Ogbona's properties, she was able to go back to school and to pay for her education. Ijeoma was once again very happy. She was a survivor. Her life was back on track, and she was excited once again to be alive. Hi besties, it's your girl Omalicha again. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. If something happens to you today, God forbid, is there someone that you trust that will be able to take care of your child like his own child in your absence? Do you really trust that your friend? Do you think your friend is truly your friend? Or do you think your sister, your sibling is truly your sibling? Would your children be safe with them, or would your children be maltreated? Also, do you think that Ogbonna, Adora, and Ebere, do you think they deserved what happened to them at the end? Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section, and please support your homegirl Omalicha by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. Now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories, bye!